Welcome. In this video, I'll share the story of how I was initiated into talismanic magic. But this video is not a simple magical tale from my life. I also hope this video may initiate you into talismanic magic, the same way that the Enochian angels did to me. So pay attention to the whole video and you will learn how you can create and activate your own talismans. My studies of Agrippa and the subsequent entry into talismanic magic was fruit of my work with Axinore, the Enochian senior that provided me so much magical growth. If you're curious, there's already a video on my evocation of him and some of the benefits that came from it. It is with deep gratitude and love that I ask him to bless everyone who takes this video as their first steps into a talismanic practice. May Axinore bless your magical journey. As I shared in my last video, I had grown a deep admiration for John Dee, and wishing to know more of how he fought, I read some of the books that we know to have influenced him. While reading Agrippa in Book 2, in the chapter where the planetary intelligences and spirits are presented, I had a clear knowing that I was to copy some things into my personal grimoire. Over the next few days, I carefully copied the planetary squares, sigils, and the divine names associated with the planets as Agrippa shares in his book. By then, still not sure why, but following and trusting my intuition, I continued taking note of what I felt I should. Later in the book, I'd also feel called to note the archangels of the zodiac, and later the fixed stars, specifically their sigils and effects. At this point, I had no idea how these things were already interweaved through Axinore's plans for my growth, but everything will soon make sense. If you're enjoying this video, please leave a like, a comment, subscribe to the channel, and if you really want to support us, I invite you to our Patreon, where for $8.88 a month, you'll be a part of our egregore of Enochian rituals every month for the benefit of all patrons. You'll also get some exclusive videos, direct chat with me, and the ebook of the rituals that I use and that you can do as well. If you want to hire me for an ethical magical purpose, you can find my email in the description of the video. A deep thanks to every single one of my patrons that allows me to have such a more fulfilling life. I have no words to express how much I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Now, back to the story. I finished taking my notes and left them there for a while, not feeling called to do anything with them, and only slightly curious to work with the planetary intelligences and spirits. To be fair, although I was being exposed to talismanic elements, I felt no inclination towards it, and probably would think that it's more likely that I would only work with the entities that I took note of in the way that I was already familiar with, meaning the normal evocations I already did. One day, rather suddenly, I felt the urge to make a talisman. I began watching content about it on YouTube, and I realized that many of them are very much inspired by Agrippa, whom I had just read, and that the notes I've taken were perfect for the construction of a talisman. Following the inspiration, I sat on my chair and began experimenting with talisman designs. I drew a few models in my grimoire for it, using Saturn as an example, since its planetary square is the smallest, and this was just a model. After it was finished, I stared at it for a while, and I felt the atmosphere change, for one of much more seriousness. The shift in my perception was sudden and to me indicated the potency of these talismans. I wondered how I managed to explore so many systems while completely avoiding talismanic magic, but I was also thankful that the time had come to learn it. And given the clear sequence of events that led to the information that allowed me to begin a talismanic practice, I knew that this was still another teaching that Axinore wanted me to learn. So I really can't overstate the greatness of the impact that evocation of Axinore had on my life. I'll soon jump into the stories of the talismans I've created and the experiences of contacts and consequences of those rituals. But first, I promised I would teach you how to make your own talismans. First, you're going to decide on elements that will compose the talisman. These may include divine names, sigils of entities, planetary squares, psalm verses, phrases of intention, Orphic hymns, and much more. Any magical symbol can be incorporated into a talisman. Although my talismanic practice follows a very much Agrippa-inspired design, there are truly no rules. Whatever elements, drawings, symbols, or phrases you can gather together, unified by their association with your magical intent, can be used to compose a beautiful and powerful talisman. If you are mindful of planetary days and hours for picking the time to make your talisman, it will bring even more power towards your magic. If we were to learn from Israel Regardi, the simple construction of the talisman with focus and attention during the appropriate planetary timings already activates it. If you're a beginner or intermediate magician and is not familiarized with evocation, then you can consider your talismanic work finished by this point and can just find a natural place for your talisman to continue to provide the planetary influences that you imbued into it. But me personally, I like to go a step further, activating them in a formal evocation of the entities present in the talisman. This step, in my view, is analogous to the consecration that Agrippa teaches. Any evocation ritual will do. If you want to use the one I use, join our Patreon and you'll find the ritual on our ebook. One thing you may wonder is, do you have to use the associated metals to make the talismans? And of course, that is more aligned with the tradition. And the very expense and money dedicated to the magic can carry its own power, since you're having to give up spending that money on something else. So this already makes the ritual so much more important in your own mind. So I do believe that doing it out of the metals, when the metal is safe to work with, is indeed better. But I don't think you should give up on talismanic magic if they are too expensive for you. They're too expensive for me too, and I like to use wood, or wood compensates. A good leather will work just fine as well. Any material you have access to, and preferably one that will last a long time, so I wouldn't do paper talismans, mostly for how easily they would get damaged and lost. The effort making them, the attention while you make them, and the proper intention of your magical work is sufficient to manifest power into your life. So don't give up on talismanic magic just because you're not going to buy gold or silver. You can do it out of cheaper materials. And one last thing I'd like to recommend, especially to those who may look for the divine names given by Agrippa. When it comes to the Hebrew divine names that he shares, it seems to me to carry a good degree of corruption. I have used them, they work just fine, but I prefer to use Hebrew divine names from other sources rather than Agrippa. Especially nowadays, where we have so many good academic modern research on Kabbalistic teachings, for example. So you can use the Agrippan divine names, but if you already know other divine names that you're comfortable with, use those. Especially if you've done good research regarding where they come from and their associations, etc., etc. Now that you know how to make your own talismans, I'll share my experiences with it for you to know what to expect. The very first talismans I created were for Mars. It included the Archangel Camael, Phaleg, the Olympian spirit of Mars, and both Graphiel, the intelligence of Mars, and Bartzabel, the Cacodemon, the spirit of Mars. You may notice that given the importance of Enochian magic in my life, I also introduced the Heptarchy into my talismans. And, inspired to draw more from Dee, I used his list of archangels, which gives Samael as the Archangel of Mars, which is actually aligned with traditional Hebrew sources. This will later turn out to be a mistake, putting Samael in there without having a prior relationship with him. But if you want to hear that story and the trouble that Samael caused me for a while until we figured it out, please talk about it in the comments and I can make a video dedicated to it. I began calling Samael the Archangel of Mars, and later the Olympian Spirit, both entities I was already familiar with. Whenever you're working with the Agrippa spirits, I thoroughly recommend you begin with an angel or archangel, then following to call the intelligence of the planet, and only at the end calling the spirit. In this way, the angelic energy can control and direct the energy of the spirit, which can be very chaotic and destructive. So far, everything was normal. They were open to the working being done, where I simply asked for martial virtues and blessings to come from this talisman, which would also become the sigil of evocation for any of the entities there present. It was then that I evoked Graphiel, the intelligence of Mars, being my first contact with these entities. As soon as I finished the evocation directed at him, I felt the ambient shift, and strong winds invaded my room. In my mind's eye, he showed up as the literal planet of Mars. He felt stubborn and rispid, the vibe one would get from a war general indeed. He was extremely straight to the point and wasn't into much talking, and was rushing me to say what I had to say and why I had evoked him. I told him I wished to activate my talisman, that I wish him to put his energy in it and grant me all the martial virtues that he may bestow upon me. He questioned me for a while, saying that I was asking for too much, but after I explained my life goals and the whole plan I had for creating a set of talismans for the planetary entities given by Agrippa, as this journey of initiation into talismanic magic, he accepted, and I proceeded to evoke Bartzabel, the cacodemon of Mars. In my experiences, the planetary spirits of Agrippa are extremely dense. They talk very little, and I sense them as being mostly emotional impulses, usually enraged and rude and destructive and threatening, and of course, Mars probably even more. When I called Bartzabel, the vision where I saw Graphiel as the planet Mars changed, and the planet began to exhale a black mist. By then I began sweating profusely. It was already hot that day, but it felt the temperature had increased by a few degrees. I began feeling pressure around me and began feeling nauseated. Regardless of the condition, I powered through. I mostly got grunts and "rrr" as responses, and of course many threats from Bartzabel. And at points I felt that Graphiel was answering for him. So even though they were both talking at different moments, whenever any of them talked, I would know it was coming from this entity, even if in the vision they were basically the same. It then came to the point where I asked the spirits to swear obedience, similar to what's done in the Abramelin ritual, which is a thing that by itself increases the odds of having demons threatening you since you decided to subjugate them. Then, after some threats and the continuous use of different divine names, calling for the help of my HGA and commanding him to obey, he finally accepted. I left this ritual with the sense that the key for effective use of these entities is calling them one after another, having the intelligence conduct the energy of the spirit, making use of the spirit to empower the intelligence, and therefore working with both sides of the energetic spectrum of the planet. And by unifying those, that's how I feel we get the most power from this system. At the end of the ritual, I felt an intense rush of intuition. It felt like I was downloading a new ritual. At the end, I received a quick banishing ritual that can be done anywhere, under any circumstances, in just a few seconds. The ritual harnesses the martial power present in anger, and it's meant to be performed with the rage and readiness for battle, as one goes to war or steps into a fight. Then this rage is directed towards the unwanted presence while we mentally scream for their expulsion. At the end, our hand holding the sword mudra makes this movement, which should be synchronized with a visualization of your aura, bright red, and as your arm extends, so does your red aura, pushing away any spirits or negative energies. Next, I created 2 talismans of Mercury, one for myself and one for my brother who was having a tough time with his math teacher. In terms of a ritual structure, it was the same as the first. Once again, I saw the intelligence as the planet Mercury itself, and its spirit as a dark energy coming from it. This time, the spirit threatened me even more, but under the intelligence, the archangel, and divine names, it too agreed to serve. In the case for my brother, I asked them to bring some shadow work to his teacher so that he may realize the error in his current way of teaching, but also on my brother, for him to be a better student. The very next day, his math teacher stopped going to school due to sickness. He spent 3 weeks until recovering and going back to school, and upon return, my brother claims that he was more patient and lenient. That being said, over the months, my brother seemed to improve as a student, but only for a few weeks and soon went back to his rebel ways. So overall, I don't think he became a better student, so I'll take that as a partial result only. But even then, I still believe it helped. It could have been worse. He did pass his year. I then decided to make a Jupiter talisman. And this one I'm only including here to help you manage your expectations. For this ritual, I asked for money, a particular amount, and they told me they would do it in 4 months, but I never got that result. This was one of my failures, which I chose to include here because magic isn't 100% guaranteed. Sometimes it does fail, and that's okay too. And by now you may be questioning yourself. Well, he's praising talismanic magic so much, but the results don't seem that impressive. And you're right, I'm mostly thankful for this initiation because it solidified my knowledge of how to make a talisman, which would in a few months become crucial for my Enochian journey. Once again giving me that feeling that everything was part of Agznori's plans. Over the next weeks, I did talismans for all planets. But the last story I wish to share with you today was with the Sun Talisman. It was probably the most intense experience for all of these talismans. Once again, I asked for all the virtues and blessings that they could give me. This ritual was filled with unexpected surprises. First, an immense hit invaded the room right after I evoked Nakiel, the intelligence of the sun. It felt absurd how much the physical sensation of temperature can change in a ritual, especially with fiery entities. During our conversation, I began feeling a circle of heat around my Tiferet center in my chest. It vibrated and emanated heat. Putting my hand in front of it, I could feel the temperature difference within a few centimeters of each other. We talked for a bit, and he told me to put his talisman under the candle holder. I then proceeded to call Trough, the spirit of the sun, which, once again, like all other Calcodiamonds, was rude, threatening, and unhappy to be there. Still, he eventually caved in and accepted my requests. The last curious thing from this ritual is that the candle simply kept burning. Even after the candle itself was over, it continued to burn. The wick alone was consuming the rests from the wax of previous candles. Not only that, but the candles I was using lasted from 3 to 3.5 hours, and this one took 4.5 hours to finish burning, all from the same manufacturer. And at the end, when I took the talisman from under the candle, it had left a circle or mark right in the middle of the symbol of the sun that Agrippa gives. It truly felt like a beautiful sign of their presence there, a physical proof of their presence. I continue to cherish all my talismans, but if I'm being transparent, I didn't work with them that much after this initiation. But I'm glad to have contacted all of them, especially since it makes it less daunting to contact them again if need be. So the first contact with talismanic magic through Agrippa was extremely valuable in my craft, even if it did not surpass the results I was getting from Enochian magic, which continues to be my main system to this day. And if it's not clear to you yet how valuable this was, well, subscribe to the channel, because my contact with the Enochian Heptarchy and later with the angels from the Table of Union, both practices that had talismans as a basis for it, were profoundly life-changing. So without this training, I would not have been able to continue my Enochian journey. Even now, recounting this story, I'm amazed at the foresight that Akazunori had and how quickly he guided me to learn what I needed to continue my Enochian journey, which has yet to cease to impress and amaze me. Thank you very much for watching until the end. Don't forget to leave a like, a nice comment, suggestion of a new topic for our next video, and of course, don't forget to visit our Patreon. Goodbye.